Hello everyone, welcome back to my next story video. I wish you all a very happy and joyful day. Now, please listen to the next story. Let's get started. In the south of Chicago, amidst a neighborhood forgotten by time and development, the Ashcroft building loomed like a silent ghost. Once a luxurious hotel in the 1920s, now nothing more than a crumbling ruin, its shattered windows resembling the empty eye sockets of a giant skull. The locals, old men muttering in shabby coffee shops, would warn anyone foolish enough to venture near. Don't. Absolutely don't. Especially not the 13th floor. Although Ashcroft had long been sealed off, strangely, every full moon, flickering lights could still be seen from the uppermost windows. And eerie sounds echoed, dragging footsteps, whispering like desperate prayers, and choking sobs, yet no one who went up there ever came back the same, if they came back at all. That's why Jake, and Lila, three idiots with battered cameras and a reckless thirst for thrills, decided to break in through the back door, sneaking into Ashcroft on a bitter, windy night, when the moon hung pale and lifeless like the dead eye of a fish, casting its ghastly light over rotting hallways where time seemed frozen in thick layers of dust and the walls exhaled the sighs of forgotten years. We entered the grand lobby, where the crystal chandelier had long since turned into a swinging hulk of rusted metal, and the elevator, corroded and crooked, stood like a coffin hanging open. The floor directory plaque, curiously, skipped straight from 12 to 14, with no mention of 13. Yet, when I swept my flashlight across the end of the hallway, I swear I saw another stairwell door, and scrawled on it in something dark, dried blood or something worse, was the number 13. Jake, reckless as ever, broke the latch, and we climbed the cracked stairs, flashlight beams dancing over the stained walls like sickly skin. Every footstep echoed hollowly, like knocking on a coffin lid, until at last, a heavy metal door appeared before us, old, battered, without a nameplate, its surface marred by deep, desperate scratch marks, as if someone, or something, had tried in vain to escape. The air around the door was unnaturally cold, thick with a foul, musty stench. When we pushed it open, it emitted a screech like a strangled scream, revealing a hallway stretching endlessly into clotted darkness. We stepped through, leaving behind the world we knew. When the door slammed shut with the finality of a coffin lid, I felt it, a wrongness, a warping presence, hatred oozing like cold sweat down my back. The 13th floor wasn't just a place, it was alive, breathing. The very bricks seemed to pulse, and the walls quivered under our flickering lights. On those walls hung faded paintings, grotesque scenes, screaming, deformed faces, torn and mangled figures, skeletal hands clawing from shattered mirrors, as if trying to escape. Lila clutched my arm, trembling, while Jake, as fearless as always, kept filming, pushing deeper into the festering maze. We didn't realize that from the moment we set foot on the 13th floor, we were no longer walking on solid ground. Each step was sinking into memory, into concentrated horror. Then, at a junction, Jake suddenly shouted, pointing ahead. A shadow flitted across the hallway, so fast it barely registered. Impossibly tall, limbs twisted and uneven, head tilted at a deathly angle. We chased after it, stupid as children lured into a dark forest, and somewhere along the way, we got separated. Lila and I called for Jake until our voices broke, but it was hopeless. The hallways twisted and turned like entrails, doors bent and warped, and the whispers began, seeping into our ears like tiny worms, gnawing and muttering. We stumbled through the labyrinth until we found a room, the mirror room. And that was when the real nightmare began. The room was covered entirely in cracked, splintered mirrors, reflecting thousands of distorted images of ourselves. But within each reflection, warped and monstrous versions of us twitched and moved independently. As we stepped inside, the reflections began to lean out, stretching, as if the glass was just a thin veil between reality and nightmare. One of them grabbed Lila. She screamed, her voice shattering, and was dragged into a mirror, leaving me alone amid the chaos. I ran blindly, as the twisted copies clawed after me, their broken laughter echoing in my head. I stumbled upon another door and burst through it, only to come face to face with the entity, the guardian of the 13th floor. It was swathed in faded, moldy bandages, a wooden mask with hollow, endless eyes, and an ancient red sigil carved into its forehead. It didn't need to move, its mere presence crushed all will. It reached out and touched my forehead, and in that instant, an avalanche of memories surged into my mind, torn souls, imprisoned faces, and I understood. I had become part of the 13th floor, like so many before me, trapped forever within the mirrors and bleeding hallways of Ashcroft. As hope flickered out, a sound rang out, a distant, ghostly telephone ringing. The entity recoiled, giving me a precious moment. I ran, bolting toward a cracked door, stumbling down the stairs, spilling onto Chicago's frozen sidewalk, vomiting and sobbing like a broken child. The moon bore silent witness as I staggered away without daring to look back. After that night, Jake and Lila were never seen again. And every time I look into a mirror, I swear I can still see them, standing there in the reflection, smiling subtly, reaching for me, calling me back, because once you set foot on the 13th floor, you never truly leave. You only become a lingering shadow, forever lost among the endless mirrored hallways of Ashcroft, where the whispers never cease. I thought I had escaped that nightmare, thought Ashcroft was just a scar left in my mind. But I was wrong, horribly, irreversibly wrong. Nightmares, once they sink their claws into your soul, never let go. It followed me, seeping into every crack of my daily life. Every night, as the lights in my tiny apartment dimmed, I could feel its presence, a damp breath on my neck, a shadow flickering at the edge of my vision, soft tapping on the walls. At first, I convinced myself it was just my frayed nerves, but then things got worse. When I looked into the bathroom mirror at midnight, my reflection was no longer entirely mine. My eyes, or the thing wearing my face, stared back with a twisted grin, a gash-like smile. And on nights of the full moon, I heard it, the old telephone ringing faintly from inside the mirror, a ringing that didn't exist in the real world but pulsed on, relentless, like the heartbeat of a rotting corpse. Every time it rang, I glimpsed, just from the corner of my eye, the 13th floor, its hall of mirrors flickering just behind me, as if one step through the glass would plunge me back into that hell. It all came to a head on my birthday night. Friends had come to celebrate at my apartment. Then, the temperature plunged, the light bulbs burst one by one, and amid the chaos I saw him, Jake. Jake, his face torn to ribbons, standing silent in the middle of the panicking crowd. Only I could see him. Jake raised a hand and pointed at the large mirror on the wall, where the 13th floor bled through like an ink stain. And then, everyone started disappearing. No, being pulled into the mirrors, one by one. Their bodies twisted like broken dolls, their screams smothered by the icy glass. I tried to run, to smash the mirrors, to scream for help, but no one could hear me. My familiar little apartment warped into a twisted version of Ashcroft. Endless hallways, rusted doors leading only into madness. And then I realized, I had never left the 13th floor that night. I had only believed I escaped. But in truth, I never left, and I never would. The 13th floor clung to me like a monstrous parasite, eating away the real world piece by piece, replacing it with rotting hallways, gaping mirrors, and lurking shadows. I ran endlessly through corridors that never ended, with whispers shrieking my name from the cracks in the walls. Stay with us, stay forever, and when I could run no more, when my feet bled from broken tiles, I collapsed before a final door. Carved into it, scrawled with human fingernails, were the words, "No way out." I opened it, there was no choice, and found myself face to face with myself. Not me, but something wearing my skin. Its eyes were voids, its grin stretched unnaturally wide. It opened its arms, and I felt an invisible force tearing at my soul. I screamed, but the sound echoed only inside my skull as the final mirror swallowed me whole. In that last moment, I saw Lila, Jake, and countless others, their faces shattered, broken, trapped forever in the frozen mirrors. I knew then, I had become part of Ashcroft. Part of the 13th floor, another whispering soul to call the next fool's home. Because the 13th floor is always hungry, and it will never, never rest. Okay, my story ends here. I wish you all a happy and joyful day. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, goodbye and see you again.